Hey friends, just popping in here to say that this will be our last episode of season 2 of The Mother of It All. We will be active on Instagram and on our Substack over the summer, and of course we will continue to release monthly Just Us episodes for paid subscribers. If you'd like to follow us on Substack so you can see our summer posts or consider becoming a paid subscriber, you can go to motherofitall.substack.com, and we will be back with our regular bi-monthly episodes in September. Have a great summer.
It's true that I am like invisible in some ways to people. Like I feel that happening. But the other like really beautiful thing that we don't talk about, like so female midlife is like, oh, you're losing your fertility, right? You're becoming irrelevant, like ageism is happening. And those things are all true. Made into crone, yes. But the thing is, in croneness, like nobody sees you. So you're like, oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
I'm Miranda Rick.
And I'm Sarah Wheeler, and this is The Mother of It All, where we take on motherhood through the lens of culture and culture through the lens of motherhood. Miranda, good afternoon.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm on day 4 of 8 days of solo parenting.
Oh, wow.
So I'm both like amazing. I feel like very strong and capable when I'm single parenting. Like I feel like I access something more grounded and like and like greater possibilities for myself. And then once that's depleted, I feel like completely insane. So
yeah,
it's like 80-20, maybe even 90-10 right now. Talk to me in 48 hours.
Do you like, so I've only ever done like a couple days, at a time. And do you feel motivated? I hope this isn't really annoying to my single parent friends, but like when I'm in that, I always feel really motivated to just like text them like, you're amazing. Like, and then I'm like, I'm sorry. I know this is, I should say it all the time, but I'm just saying it now that I'm not like, I start racking myself. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm not a nice enough friend to like my friends who are going through divorces or I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Single parents.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I know. I'm like, am I appropriating their entire culture by being like, I know what it's like. It's been a week and like, I cannot believe how many meals you must make. I don't know. Anybody listening who's a single parent, please let us know if you like that. Yeah. If you like parents who co-parent kind of like,
finally appreciate
giving you your
like
flowers or you want them all the fuck off.
I think it's just that we finally see them maybe briefly. Yeah. We're like, oh, I see you. Yeah. It must be really hard to listen to me complain about my life. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I think there's ways my single parent friends would have also kind of spoken to this, that like there are also ways that co-parenting is really annoying. I mean, it's very difficult. It's difficult in different ways. Like it's very difficult to be a single parent. And, I can feel, I don't know, like the self-reliance and what is nice about that. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't know how to extrapolate that to like an entire life.
Yeah. No, I hear that. Yeah.
Like I made the independent choice to show my kids Wayne's World last night and stay up late on a weeknight.
Yeah.
I don't think my husband would be opposed to that, but I felt like this is for me. Like me and the kids, we're going to do Wayne's World. We're going to talk about condoms. Mm-hmm. There's a lot in that movie that I forgot about. I was like, okay, now I'm explaining condoms.
There is a lot.
That's mommy's vibe.
Yeah, no.
Staying up late, talking about condoms, eating ice cream.
It Sundays. Is kind of fun to experience, like, if it's just your vibe. Like, I know that we would be 10 to 30 minutes late to school every day if I was the primary parent. Or like the only.
Really? You're late?
I would be late to school every day. If I was the only parent, we would always be late to school because I struggle with time and especially being on time, as evidenced.
But you're you're so on top of things.
Oh no, I don't feel that.
Wait, do you struggle? Well, actually, I'm thinking of Angela's like piece that she wrote in Romper a few years ago about like the like joy of letting the mornings kind of like be slow? Is it, I could see you liking that as being someone who's just like accepts that rushing is pointless and like you might as well let it be juicy.
Yes, I think this is like a primary conflict every day between David and I, that like he cares about being on time and I am like, well, the school, you know, in the most kind of embarrassing, like laying it out on the line, honest way, like my kind of feeling about school in general is like, well, this is like an institution of like capitalism, like we're creating like worker bees, like I don't need to be on time, like, you know, my kids are going to be there and I'm doing the thing and I'm participating in society, but like I don't care if we're 7 minutes late, like, you know what I mean? Like nothing, and like
that's a lot, by the way, for like 7:38 in the morning, but I feel you, I'm with you.
It is, this is just, I'm just being really, I just have very little filter today, but but yeah, you know, and then David's like, he just really cares. He really, really cares. And then that's valid too. Like, I think we've had a lot of conversations about this because like, so he's our morning captain. So what has happened is I just take a back seat and he has like all these little timers set on his phone and he knows what needs to happen when in order to like get out the door on time. And so his phone like dings like every like 4 minutes.
I can't tell if I want one of those in my house or not.
Right.
Same. I think it would get us to school on time more. The way that you want to like do the mornings is definitely feels like taps into that like when you're alone piece. I'm going out to the diner with my daughter tomorrow and taking her late to school because she goes to after school and Max doesn't, so I see her less. And so we're going to have a little solo time. But my life has been forever changed in the mornings because our friends, Miriam and Sebastian, who I try to get to listen to this podcast, take Max to school now. They pick him up every day at 8:15. School starts at 8:30 because he's ready and just spends the next like 15 minutes losing his mind. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's made this week a lot better. I am not you know, I may be solo, but I'm not alone this week. I have like so many parent friends who are really loving my kids up.
That's lovely. Oh, that's so nice.
If you're enjoying this episode of The Mother of It All, consider becoming a paid subscriber by going to motherofitall.substack.com, and you'll get monthly bonus episodes and more. If you can't spare $5 a month, it's free and makes a huge difference for us when you share, rate, and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. Visit our bookshop storefront by going to bookshop.org and searching for Mother of It All. You'll find all of the books we mention here, as well as our favorite motherhood books and general recommended reading. Now, back to our episode. Speaking of friends and loving people up, I am just so thrilled to have Angela Garbes back on the podcast, and I can't keep myself from talking to her any longer.
No, same.
She's the author of Like a Mother and Essential Labor. She was with us in 2023 talking about the holidays and sobriety, and since then we've all aged. Not just the three of us, every single person.
Everybody's doing it.
Yes, everyone's doing it. It's the one thing everyone is
even
doing.
babies.
Miranda turned 40 last year.
And 41 this year.
I started getting this one hair in my chin that I have to pay attention to. And Angela, thank goddess, has started a column halfway there at The Guardian where you talk everything middle age, from anti-aging face oils to will writing, which I have questions about, to the sex lives of menopausal orcas, which I don't have questions because I learned everything from you. And today we get to pick Angela's brain about the transition so many of us are in or staring down at some point. Thank you for being here, Angela.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be back. I'm honored to be a return guest.
Friend of the pod.
You know, I saw a friend of the pod bumper sticker the other day, and I was like, we got to get like a stack of those and start sending those to people.
Yeah, let's make them. How can we tie that into aging? We can make them little, I don't know, little ankle braces or something.
Shower chair. It's on your shower chair.
Angela, Who
Yeah.
is caring for your sweet kids right now?
Oh, the beautiful Seattle public school educators at Maple Elementary School.
Maple Elementary.
Yeah.
Wait, okay,
Love Maple Elementary.
they're 6 and 10.
They are now 7 and 10.
Oh,
Yeah.
did your daughter just turn 7 too, your little one?
Yeah, my little one turned 7 in March.
Oh, okay. Mine was
Yeah.
in April. I know the baby
Yeah.
being
And
7
mine was
is
December.
I don't
We
know.
all have, well, mine is not my baby. Mine is my older.
That's your big
but
one.
we all have 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It's very, I'm looking at the difference between 7 and 10. And I mean, their
Mm.
personalities are very different, but I also realized like this is really kind of the end of an era. I can see it happening,
Mhm.
because like my 10-year-old is in some ways unrecognizable to me in moments,
Mm.
right? Or she's just so grown up. So I think there's a lot of maturing that happens in that space. And I'm just cherishing like the back of her heel, like the back of my 7-year-old's heel is still like just a little over an inch across, like, and I'm like, when that heel widens is when youth is over for all of us.
That's amazing. I'm watching my 7-year-old's butt. Like her butt is it's still a baby butt. It's just got that like, I don't know, full lush baby
Yes.
buttness.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm like, that's gonna
I
shift.
think for me, it's like I was watching my kids on the swing the other day. They like the swing in front of our house, and it's like the backs of their heads. Like there's something about it's like the tousled hair that they kind of just have no awareness of. Like this like lack of awareness of what they look like a little bit. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. And like just this kind of ruffled permanent bedhead, kind of wild and a little sweaty and like, just I don't know, but it is 7. We were at this school carnival last night, and
ooh, is that why you're so raw today?
I think it's that.
Unfiltered.
I think it's my period and antibiotics.
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
but you never know.
No.
But yeah, the carnival is like this big fundraiser for the PTA, and all these kids were running around everywhere, and I don't often see the like 4th and 5th graders, but it's like my kid is like enthusiastically hopping in like a potato sack or whatever, and like just dying to get in the bounce house. And then there's like this gaggle of girls who look like adults, and they're in like
They're just vaping.
I mean, almost, like
Emotionally vaping, yeah.
It's just like a whole. I was like, you guys go to the same school? Like, what?
Yeah. Or is your Angela is your eldest in 5th grade?
She's in 4th grade.
Okay, so she still has one more year of elementary school.
Yeah, one more year.
Because that's another
in
transition.
elementary school. Yeah, but she's already like I said, I mean, she's going to be taller than me. Like,
yeah, you said she has size 8 shoes. I don't
She
want
wears
to
size 8 and a
we don't
half.
need to talk too much about your daughter's body here, but
yeah, and she has size 8.5 shoes. She's very in
That's
between.
badass.
Like we can't shop in the kids department for her anymore.
Right.
But she's not quite big enough for women's clothing.
Yes.
So she's in this very in between state. And like, I was thinking what you were saying about the hair, Miranda, it's true. Like I have to remind my 7-year-old, like she gets this, it's a very particular tangle on the back of her head. And I still have to remind her to comb out her rat's nest.
Yeah.
But
Same.
with my older one, it's like, I mean, she's brushing her hair. She requests a fishtail braid. Like there's a level of personal expression and style and grooming and care that she has stepped into. And it's very moving to see, but it's also, it's like there's that again, is that huge difference. It's like, it's 3.5 years. But when I think about what she was like at 7 and what she's like now, I just know like my little baby she's vanishing inside of her tiny heel.
We're all aging.
Everyone's doing it.
So you've been writing about middle age in The Guardian for over a year now, and you're also writing a book, which I'd love to hear about. I'm wondering, Angela, how your experience of middle age has grown or shifted in the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I was going to write a book about female midlife, right? That's what and I had written a proposal. And the whole idea of it was going to be sort of like my style of book, which is like some element of memoir and personal narrative, but a bunch of research. Because basically I've only deepened into this. So I did write this proposal, and then I ended up deciding to write a different book, which is like a longer story. So I'm working on this memoir, like a straight memoir. And the proposal kind of, a lot of the ideas that were present in that are now have been explored in the column.
Yeah.
Right. And so the whole premise was like, okay, so I'm now, wait, can we get a check in here? So Miranda's 41. Mm-hmm. How old are you, Sarah?
42, right? No, I'm 40. I was born in 1983.
So you're 42.
In August.
Oh,
no,
you're
I'm 41.
42.
I'm going to be 42.
42. Okay.
Gee, yeah, I mean, that if that doesn't tell you.
Okay, so I'm 47 and I'll be 48 in September. And so this thing that I noticed was
you're my
like,
Virgo sister.
Yeah.
Me, you, and Beyonce.
Yes. And also the new Pope apparently is a Virgo. I just found out.
All
As of today,
I'm still mad at him. I'm sorry Filipino Pope didn't make it.
Yeah, I'm sad about it too. I was prepared.
For
I was prepared for disappointment though. In any case, since 40, which was when I had my second child, I realized that basically there's this huge lack of my own imagination and like cultural imagination and like representation, because I was like, I thought that I would turn 40 and then I'd be like 65. I had no way of picturing this period of my life that I am in, right? That's going to be a significant part of my life. And I was like, how did I manage to not think about this, right? And when I wrote Like a Mother, when I would go do book events, there would be some women there who would be like, do menopause next. Can you do menopause next? Like, I need you to write a book about menopause. And I was like, okay. And then, after 40, like I'd say really from like 43, 44, I started getting these different symptoms like night sweats. I had my first hot flash, which was like a power surge. I mistook it for, it was like during COVID, when we were coming out of COVID, and I was like in a Goodwill dressing room, and I got so hot that I like ripped off this dress that I was trying on and tore the seam of it.
Oh, thank God it was Goodwill.
Yeah. And I said to my husband, I was like, you know what I think they're trying to do to try to get people to not shop for very long? I think they turned up the temperature in Goodwill. They turned up the temperature in the Goodwill dressing rooms so that people don't stay too long, right? And he was
it's a plot against perimenopausal
and
women.
bless this man, he looked at me and he just goes, yeah, they're not turning up the temperature in the Goodwill dressing room. He's like, I think something else is going on. And then he just like carefully backed away. And I was like, what the fuck? But so there were
just like
things,
hands you a pack of estrogen. Then
but it was all kinds of things too. Like my period was changing, like my cycle, my actual, like the flow on the first couple of days. And so I just was like, something is happening to me. And that's when I started to like Google and realize like, oh, this is like perimenopause, which is like this is a very long answer that I'm giving. So like basically though, so I was like, all of these things are happening to me and no one talks about what it is. And it's a thing that men, like half the population will go through, right? And perimenopause, or like the menopause continuum that you're in, you can have, there's 34 right now. Currently there are 34 symptoms of perimenopause, which from researching and writing a book on pregnancy, I know this does not mean that it's like a very, very like obtuse or like hard to understand thing. It's because no one's ever prioritized it.
Right.
So I was like, oh, no one knows what's going on. Like your doctor won't like say, oh, that's what this is, right? Like, and you can't be diagnosed as perimenopausal. The only diagnosis that happens is you are in menopause or you've experienced menopause if it's been over a year since you had a period.
I know that because I made it a trivia question when I hosted trivia with my husband a few weeks ago. I try to go through the trivia and add things.
How'd you sneak that one in?
Well, he's a feminist.
Okay.
I just always like I had a question once that was like, tampons go like light, regular, what? I'm just like, there's a lot of questions about like Thomas Jefferson And I'm not trying to,
and not enough about super.
Exactly.
Super
and
plus.
History is gendered because of who created it. So
exactly.
we're going to have some menopause questions. And my real estate agent came and she was like, I'm not going to know anything. And then when I asked that question, she was like, yes, and grabbed the pencil. So 12 months. So you can be diagnosed with menopause, but not perimenopause. I did not know that.
And then by that definition too, then you're going to spend your like, if you're lucky, like a quarter or a third of your life in quote unquote in menopause, right? Because menopausal, right? So there's all this, and also I found out from talking to older women, people who have been through menopause, like your symptoms don't necessarily end, right? Like I know some women who are still getting hot flashes post menopause. And so I'm not saying that it goes on forever, but there's a lot going on. And so all of this was happening where I was like, we need exploration of this, like of what's going on, and we need dialogue about it. We need to talk about it. Like I'm out here thinking like, am I losing my mind? Like I'm now sensitive to noise. I've self-diagnosed with something called misophonia, which is like if the kitchen fan is going and more than one person is talking and a device is on, I like can't handle it. And I sometimes fly into a rage. Ooh. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be doing this. It took a while for me to realize what was going on and to like explain that to my family. Yeah. And now they're like, oh, mommy's overstimulated now. Like, but that's new, right? So anyway, so I was like, the kind of like sciencey part of it and health stuff I was interested in. But then the other thing about it was I was like, female midlife needs a massive rebrand, right? It just needs like a whole new marketing scheme. Have you seen these, like, sometimes they air during basketball games. There's like these new, like Jesus got a new marketing campaign where it's like, he gets us, all of us, where it was one where it was like a rebel roamed the streets, right? And he gathered together a gang of people who were, that society didn't want, right? And it's like shot in black and white and it's very cool. And it's all about how like, there's a movement.
Yeah, I was super intrigued by one of those, and then I was like, oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm like really into it, right? Yeah, because it's very much like, it's like a poor people's campaign. It is like, we're here for everyone, and that's what Jesus is about. Yeah. And so I was imagining that this is what we need for like,
right, yeah.
We can write it now.
Because part of it is that it is true that I am now being called ma'am. It is true that like preschoolers call me a grandma because I have gray hair. Yeah. When I'm like, no, this is just what an aging woman looks like. It's true that I am like invisible in some ways to people. Yeah. Like I feel that happening. But the other like really beautiful thing that we don't talk about, like, so female midlife is like, oh, you're losing your fertility, right? You're becoming irrelevant. Like ageism is happening. And those things are all true.
Maiden mother crone.
Maiden to crone, yes. Yeah. But the thing is, in croneness, like nobody sees you. So you're like, oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Yeah. Like, so there's this like freedom in middle age. And there's also for me this like, I have spent so much of my life like living for other people and prioritizing other people, or living according to goals that maybe I sort of inherited from someone else or like ideas. And now I'm like, oh, I don't really think I want that anymore. I don't think I need that external validation the way I did. Like I now am like measuring things against like myself, right? Or I've now unlearned certain things about bodies and worth. And so now I'm trying to live. It's like everything that got me to this point, I'm grateful for. Some of the shit I would rather throw away. But like now I'm kind of like, what gets me to the next place? It's not what got me here. And that's sort of like female midlife demands like a new sort of like roadmap and like reflection. And that's my very long way of saying like, this is what I thought a year ago or 2 years ago when I thought about writing a book, when I wanted to start writing about this. And I'm just even more convinced of it. Yeah. I've just deepened into I
can see the commercial. Okay, so it's like it's like a bunch of women in different places, and it shows people like older women, and it shows people like calling them ma'am, or like kind of like walking past them and not giving, ignoring them, whatever. I mean, how else do we get marginalized? I don't know, passing them up for jobs. Maybe there's some really painful ones, but then it's like we like break the seam in the world, and we slip into like a secret dance party with a full moon.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we walk
it's
past a rack and pick up a pair of elastic waist linen barrel
exactly.
pants.
You know what I mean? To you on the way in. Exactly.
Yes.
And it's like you're
there's
free here.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I think it's interesting.
And
well,
that's,
you know, like I'm a little bit behind, right? Like I'm just.
You're right on time, Miranda.
She's 6 months younger than me, and she won't stop talking about it.
Yeah, and you know, well, it's nice to feel young, but I think
is it?
I think so.
By the end of this
Maybe
hour,
not.
we will.
But I think
dispel that.
I've been curious about just there have been conversations that have been happening with other moms and friends who are the same age as me, where like it has bubbled up more than once. This kind of realization when you realize you're done having kids and you're like, okay, so like got engaged, got married, had a couple kids. I kind of have a job, I guess. I don't know. I'm still deciding about that, but like, you know, what's the next milestone? I guess it's death.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you're just
this
like
is
my
the 40
funeral.
to 65.
That's right. Like my funeral is my next
Right.
big event. Like,
this is that black
Oh,
hole
man.
that Angela was staring down when she
Yeah.
turned 40. Like, I think
Yes.
that's such a great analogy for it. Is like it just skips to, or it's being a grandma.
but
It's
that's
all-
not that
yeah.
exciting. I mean, or
But
maybe it is.
meanwhile,
No, it's not.
yeah.
It's oriented
It's
towards
like, and you're
caretaking,
also,
right?
and like, but I think that as I started to sit with that idea and kind of like try to find what it really meant, I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm just so used to all of these trappings and all of these markers, like that the idea of a little bit of a wide openness is like challenging and a little
Sure.
bit scary.
Mhm.
But
Right. How do you get an A+ at
and like
that?
could that be
I don't-
exciting? Like I think I started to like and I'm in the time where you know the kids are little, life is still pretty demanding, and so I think one of the tensions that I struggle with is that I do feel excited and curious to explore like who I am going to be in this new kind of time of a certain amount of freedom of needing to check a box. Like I don't need to check any more boxes. I think I checked all the boxes that I didn't even know I wanted to check, but then I did. And then it's like, okay, but I don't have a lot of time to explore this. This to give to this hunger. So I'll randomly sign up for things. Like I randomly signed up for this like microdosing mom afternoon. And I was like, I don't even want to do this. And then
Right. Can I schedule this next stage of my life one workshop at a time?
Can I schedule mental and psychological expansion?
I relate to that too. Like Angela, I want to follow you to the full moon dance party, and you know, and to like whatever is like the rebranding of crone or between like mother and crone. Some people have suggested queen. I don't know who to attribute that to, but I'll put it in the show notes. But I still gotta make a lot of sandwiches.
right.
You know,
Yes,
it's like
exactly.
it's like take me on the perimenopause
But
train.
you will begin making less sandwiches.
Yeah.
You know, like my 10-year-old makes
and
for
having
lunch most
more
days.
hot flashes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's this thing that happens too, like your kids get older, which is another thing. And so I think there's also this thing of like, oh wait, like I have to let go of that because you know, so much of our charge is like to protect them, to take care of them, right?
Yeah.
But then they start to age and they get to this place where actually part of like, it's already happening with this 10-year-old where I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to stand back. And so many things that you're doing and saying are not, I have to not take that personally, right? Which is very hard, has been hard for me, but now I'm like more accepting of that. But so you do get that. And so there's a parallel to the pandemic, which I'm sorry to keep doing this, like to people to bring back to like this terrible time.
I don't think we can ever
this is a safe
process
space
it.
for that.
Go ahead.
But I think there's like this like mental health situation that's hanging around. And part of it, and you know, I had like a full mental health crisis.
Yeah.
And that's because when we were like removed, it was so much like there's stuff you can't outrun. And when you are like at home alone a lot, right? Or when you're forced to sort of look inside. And so I think this is also what middle age does is like you are in this dead zone, right? Or I mean, we're rebranding this place, right? But this like decades long period that you've never really thought about or talked about. And it's an exciting time to think about I've looked for, there are models that exist. There are not that many, right? So I'm kind of actively looking, which is where like the whales come in, which is where my obsession with BBC, female detectives comes in.
Tell us about your models, Angela.
Yeah, I want to hear more specific, like, what are you excited about, like, specifically right now, just personally, like, about this time?
Well, so here, like, let me just first take a detour through Carl Jung. Right.
Please.
So Carl Jung, which once you hit midlife, I
have that in my notes, Angela, actually. So I think it's relevant.
Why not?
Yes. So I have, it's not right here on my shelf within Grasp, but I have Jung on aging. And so Carl Jung, I know we all think of him as like the archetypes and the symbols, but he was like, we should have colleges for like people in their 40s, for midlife people. He was like, because it's considered sort of like a sin, right? When you're young, like to be selfish and to think about yourself. But he's like, this is just what people do. And he was like, but actually I would say that midlife people like have a duty to be self-centered, and they could never think about themselves enough, because what you have to do, it's that same like look inward, like, what do I care about? Right. So I've checked these boxes that maybe I didn't even care about in the first place. It's just that I was just checking them. But now I've kind of gotten to this place where you really are like, what am I living for? And you realize too, it's like like it's very convenient to hide behind, I'm living for my children, I'm living for my family. But like
I feel seen.
They do not begin to live. They're not living for you. You know what I mean? Like they are living for themselves, and you have to like accept that. And so you're kind of left with like, what am I about? And I don't think it's not like there's nothing there, but it's that thing that actually, as a mother, I craved for so long, which was like, I want to get back to myself. Right. But I think also what I'm discovering is like the self that I'm trying to get back to actually turns out to not be like 21-year-old me, which I thought I wanted. Right. It's like, and it'll be different for everyone, but like, I've realized I'm like, there's childhood trauma that I have not processed. Right. Like I am spending a lot of time with like 9-year-old baby Angela. Yeah. And realizing how much of me, how much I want, like, I want to like take care of her and be in touch with her and the things that she wanted. So that's part of my, like, that's for me personally is something that I'm really excited about, is like, it's a version of like healing my inner child, but it's just like spending time with myself and it's like different levels of my consciousness is kind of like what I'm on this journey with. And the fun thing is that one of the ways I've been doing that is I've been on Poshmark buying vintage, 90s Benetton and Esprit shirts, like very brightly patterned, like t-shirts. I had this one fruit. I'm sad that I'm not wearing it right now. But yeah, I've been I was
going to say, send pictures and we'll include them in the.
Great.
I saw that you mentioned Esprit, which like I grew up on the East Coast, so we didn't have Esprit, but I would come to the Esprit outlet in San Francisco every summer.
On the East Coast?
And I don't think so. I don't remember it existing.
I think it existed, but it was like you would get it, but it wasn't like the store.
I think it was kind of, maybe it was fancy. I don't know, but
because I went to the outlet in San Francisco because I had cousins who lived in Berkeley. So that's how
by like the water. It was like a whole thing, and my stepmother would like take me on a back to school shopping spree there every summer, and like I had some iconic fits that I really wish I had saved. So, but I never thought that I could. I'm gonna go now.
Hold on one moment. Just indulge me for 1 second.
Yes, get it.
She getting the shirt.
Do you keep it in your office? This is amazing. Is it on your inspiration board?
No, this is it's drying in my office. This is the shirt that I just bought. This is the Esprit shirt that I just bought.
Oh yes. What are we, zebras? It's like Picasso.
It's like a fruit. I don't know. It's like a Picasso Kelly Kapowski kind of situation. I don't know.
Kelly Picasso Kapowski.
But so that's one thing that I'm excited about, is like being like playful and like being in touch with that person. Like, and I think, we were joking earlier about my Post-it note about being a naturally performative person. And I'm now like, it's like the jig is up. Like, I don't feel the need to perform anymore. And so I feel like a sort of like quietness, or like I don't need to like be, there's just this like that the sort of external lens or view that I've always imagined myself to be under, or I'm always trying to picture like, what do I look like to other people? How do other people perceive me? Like, I kind of just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
It's like a big thing that has left me, which has been wonderful.
Yeah.
I've been feeling that fading for sure, but it hit me when you said like this thing about like, you know, having kids is a way to kind of keep living for other people. And like, I do think some of
And
my
we're trained to do that as female, you know.
and my grief about not having another kid, I think was part of that was like, fuck, I'm not going to be able to put off like being the person I want to be anymore. You know, because it's just so easy to be like, my kids need me. This makes sense. I'm an Enneagram 4. I don't know if we've talked about Enneagram, Angela, in our but whether are you an Enneagram person?
No,
like okay,
I don't. Yeah, I don't know what I'd like to be,
but you can
I just
tolerate
have never
me talking about it for 90 seconds. Okay,
totally.
Well,
please.
well, you're not supposed to type other people, but I have thoughts if you're ever interested.
Okay.
I'm a 4, and like the 4 is kind of like the tortured artist, and when a 4 like is unevolved or like disintegrated, like behaving badly, they go to the 2, which is the caretaker, and like that is what I do is when like I can't handle shit, I just hide myself in helping other people. I'm just like, well,
because then you're also unimpeachable.
Exactly. I'm
it's
like, at
convenient.
least if I sign up for a meal train, at least like somewhere someone maybe like rebranded Jesus even, you know, is like good job, you know, and I can just punt to the next meal train and then I'll die. But I don't really want that. I also, you're a dance person, right? Like, do you, I don't know, if, since your knee, have you been back to dance?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I just live with my knee pain. I take like preventive ibuprofen and I do more. I would do my like things to get stronger glutes because strong glutes mean strong knees. It's the whole thing. Yes.
Oh,
it's another midlife thing. Because
you did.
I just sort of have, have adjusted and adapted and modified.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you dance church?
Yes.
Okay, you're still doing dance. I remember
that
during the pandemic, you were like living for dance church. Then you hurt your knee, and I was like, no. And so I'm glad you're back to it. And I have to say, you know, from the disability world too, it's like anytime you see someone using a modification or an accommodation, it gives other people permission. And so I'm sure that's a lovely thing. I was in my dance class this morning where I've started having to wear shoes because my ankles are bothering me. And she said something, she was like giving her spiel, when we were like doing the slow song, you know, like the Portishead song or whatever, and we're like going inside ourselves. And she said, what kind of ancestor do you want to be? Ooh. And I was like, and I've been thinking about that question of just like, like what you're saying about like, who do you want to be in this time? When all of those kind of markers of being a good person are a little bit less constraining. Yeah. Or when you realize that they don't make you happy.
Yeah.
Okay. So the orcas are inspiring you.
So
because they have sex for pleasure.
Yes. So there are only, I think like 7, I don't know the exact number, I forget now, but, mammals that go through menopause, and it's mostly whales, false pilot whales, I don't know, but orcas, because also I live here in the Northwest, so orcas are like a big part of like the culture. And so what I found out is that post-menopausal female orcas, I mean, the number one thing that I took from it is like they're not like tossed aside in society. Like most of like their children, their sons, like stay with them. And they are seen as navigators. And it's really sad now because they take them to historical hunting grounds for salmon, and there's not as much salmon. So they're just taking them lots of different places because there's not enough food. So orcas are starving, but they are like the keepers of knowledge. Like they're the repository of like history of a world that doesn't exist anymore. And so I was like, oh, like we should be, you know, it's like we stick people in homes, right? We don't value the wisdom of older women. We don't see them out in public and celebrate them. And so that was very powerful to me. And then I found out that post-menopausal females are like, have a ton of sex. Like they think they're like training younger orcas, like whose penises, by the way, are prehensile, so they can control them themselves. They like can actually move them. Anyway, this is like
whoa, like a joystick?
Yeah.
Wow. I wish I had one
And
of
so,
those. Oh, I guess
so
it's just a dildo.
except it's
I
like,
do have one of those. Go
but it
on.
belongs to you. Anyway, but it's like attached, an extension of your
Oh,
body.
my
I was like,
dildo belongs
oh my
to
God,
me.
I just
Okay.
grabbed my pubic bone as I did
Right.
that. I was just imagining what it would be like to have it like grow out of my body.
Yeah. No, that would be fun.
But the thing is, like, the thing that they're doing is it's like, it's just for pleasure, right? Like, and the idea that it's like, and then this woman, Giles, who is like local and is one of like the world's experts on southern resident orca whales, was like, they're just a very sensual species. They're very sensual animals. And so like physical pleasure and touch and that kind of stuff is just a big component of their lives. And I was like, humans are like that. Like, why don't we lean into that? And so the idea of just like, there's like, it's like titillating and exciting to be like sex for orca whales, but it is also just like to inhabit your body and to make time for pleasure among, while your species is dying out and you're searching for food and leading people around, right?
Right.
So
and
like
that wisdom is sexy too. Like, I mean, I don't know what turns on an orca whale, but I do have a sexual fantasy about like, the pizza boy or not a boy, of age male who is younger, who's just like, you are such a wise, beautiful old lady. Teach me your ways,
Yeah.
And
there's like this sort of like
but it's sexy
fetishizing
for
of
me.
older women,
I
but
don't
it's
need
not like
the man.
seeing them in their. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
right. It's
like,
okay. We're not saying they're MILFs or GILFs. We're saying like we're not fetishizing. That's what
they're like beautiful older women. Like, part of the inspiration of me like growing out my gray hair, which I still sometimes feel like, I literally sometimes look in the mirror and I'm like, who the fuck's that?
You look stunning,
right? Or like,
with
wow,
your
it looks so.
braids.
Thank you. But
I
mean,
know what you mean. Yeah.
One of the things about that is like, I recognize like when I see a woman walk into a room who has grown out her gray and is like older, I'm always like, oh God, she's amazing. Right. Because what I see is like, she's like free. You know what I mean? Like there's an element of like freedom where just like, there's no hiding. And
it's
so,
like you made it.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of like aspirationally, like, I think I'm kind of sort of like a good chunk of the way there, but it's very like that kind of freedom and ease and relaxation and comfort with oneself is like what I've been wanting it my whole life.
Yeah. Well, I think you're modeling it well.
I talk a lot about like what I've been learning
moles.
from yoga. Also moles.
She talks a lot about moles too. The animal.
Whatever your pathway in to like self-discovery. I think one of the reasons we've talked a lot about matrescence on the show, I mean, it's like, I think not enough people know about it, but also for me, it has helped me to the idea of matrescence, meaning like matrescence like adolescence,
right. And Angela, you've talked about how perimenopause kind of mirrors adolescence.
Right.
Too. Yeah.
And I think like the opportunity for growth and the idea that like that continues your whole life. Like we talk a lot about our kids. Another thing I was talking with a group of moms the other day about was like bursts in leaps. And like your kids, we track those and we're like, oh, like they're grumpy because they're in a burst or they're in a little leap. And you kind of realize, I feel like as we got out of the like early years, the first 2 years where there are these like really dramatic leaps, or even Angela, like you're talking about with your daughter, like from 7 to 10. Like, I think realizing that never stops, like that we continue to leap and grow and change. And I think that, I went to yoga when I was 20 and I enjoyed it, but I didn't get that much out of it. And now I'm here and I'm 41 and I'm like going to sutra class and I'm having a much deeper experience. And I think that it's not that wasn't there. This is like an ancient thing that's been around forever. It's just that I'm a different person coming to it. And I'm hearing it in a new way, which is like, oh, like this is a process of self-discovery and self-regard. And that's what yoga is like learning that. And I'm
right, but yourself changes.
Yeah, and I'm at that place of like, oh, I need self-regard. I don't I don't necessarily have that.
Young wants you to have it.
Yes. And I think we don't have it, you know, and kind of being able to listen to yourself and learning to listen to yourself. It's incredibly hard, and our culture doesn't support that at all. It's a very noisy culture, and like,
well, not for everyone, right? It's like,
yes, yeah, but I think it is just a noisy culture, right? Like, it's for everyone. It is noisy, and
increasingly,
yes,
so,
and so this, I'm curious about, like, I think dance has been part of it, or, you know, are there things that you're looking towards down the line that, you know, you expect or you hope will help you kind of come further into your own, or like kind of as part of this developmental phase, if we want to talk about it that way?
Yeah, I mean, I love what you're saying. I think it's like, it's a skill that you build, I think, tuning into yourself. And I think the more you do it, the more I want it, right? Like I become sort of, I get better at it, but I'm also like more desperate for it. I'm like thirsty for that. But I mean, I love like what I was saying about like, you're going to spend a chunk, you think about it as like menopause, like 1 year period, I'm in menopause now. But like the idea that then you live like a third of your life as a menopausal person, right? And then that idea of matrescence is like, I will always be a mother, right? But like that, the mother that I am is always evolving also. Like we're meant to keep changing. And I think that is a, like, I think we all kind of want that, but it's also to change. And for me personally, it's like to heal, like that's hard. And I'm like, oh, I see why people don't want to do it. Right? Like it's been some of the hardest shit that I've ever done in my life. Right. But I do, like, I just want to keep doing that. Like at this point too, it's like, I have to believe that probably my most interesting changes and transformations are yet to happen. Right. And I thought like becoming a mother was like the number one thing. And that was huge. Right. But the other thing is that, you know, as we understand more about menopause, there's this book by this Italian doctor, Dr. Lisa Mosconi. You might hear her like around. It's called The Menopause Brain. But like all of her research points to that it's not like menopause is just, it's hormone, right? Like there's all that stuff, but it is a neurologically significant event, like on par with puberty. So like your brain literally is being rewired. So like, and we don't totally know how yet, but like they're seeing those things in imaging. So that idea being like, yes, like you could, you know, there's this older woman who I love, who's the, she owns this Japanese restaurant, one of Seattle's oldest Japanese restaurants. Her name is Jean Nakayama, and I love her. But I saw her I mean, we don't go out to eat anymore, but I saw her like a few months ago when my husband and I went out. And she was like, well, what are you writing about these days? And I was like, oh, I'm writing about female midlife. And she was like, she's probably in her 70s, I think 70s. And she was like, what's midlife? It just keeps going and going and going. And I was like, oh, right. Like, what a weird, like myopic thing to think of it as, right? And she was like, you want a new man? You want a new woman? You want a new life? Just do it now. Because then it's like, because life's just going to keep on going and you can have your like next version of your life. And I was like, damn, Jean.
Yeah. That's queen wisdom. Yeah. I mean, we're always in the middle of it. Yeah. You know, it is.
So like what it is that I'm looking forward to is the thing that I don't know yet that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
But I'm like trying to stay ready. I'm staying ready.
Like open. And
watching
to like
our elders.
I think,
like I'm wondering, Angela, about like your parents and your parents' generation and where that piece is coming in for you, you know, like where there's that other piece of being, you know, quote unquote middle age is usually being in that sandwich generation.
Yeah.
And I've been reading a lot of Courtney Martin stuff around her aging father that's like really beautiful and dealing with kind of elder care. And my own parents, like I have 2 parents and 2 step parents, and they're all alive. And the last one turns 80 this year. And my dad has Parkinson's, and it's like kind of been, he would say, some of the best few years of his life. getting a Parkinson's diagnosis. And he actually used this language after listening to our podcast with Jessica Slice. I do have to give that credit of like, of getting rid of his internalized ableism, basically.
Yeah.
And like after essentially 80 years, letting go of like the fact that he wasn't always going to perform, talking about performance. So I'm like finding that fascinating and inspiring. And it makes me like both excited about aging and also just kind of interested about what my experience will continue to be about like seeing these folks off into, the next life.
Yeah. And there's that feeling of like, I mean, you guys know me. That's like the drum that I bang all the time, which is like, there's really nothing more meaningful and beautiful than caring for people, right? Like, I think, and yes, it's like messy, it's tiring, it's deeply emotional and draining, right? But it is also like, it is what we're meant to do. And so I think that there's like, I'm not trying to overly romanticize it. I just think like it's everything else that gets in the way.
Yeah.
Right. But like what life is really about is that, right?
Well, I
like,
know Sarah's been wanting to talk, and I think we'll talk about it at a different time, but like, this is just making me think of Dying for Sex. Like a lot of that show, I think.
Angela watched it. We were texting.
I'm halfway through. I'm halfway through.
Well, we won't spoil
okay,
it.
right.
I'm
still not
for you. But I think we just finished it last night, and so I just, especially in these times, I think we've talked about like my experience with quitting Instagram. Like there is also this like, it's kind of interesting to think about midlife and menopause and perimenopause in like this cultural moment. And I don't want to be like totally self-involved about it, but just, it feels like everything is changing around us so quickly and quicker than ever before, arguably. And like we're living in this historically weird moment, and maybe a positive thing, if I dare say, like, is like, there is this kind of like, you said, Angela, like, I don't know what's coming. I don't know what's happening here, but like, I need to be open and resilient and kind of ready. And like, and I think honing that and also in tune with my own self and my value system, my real value system, not, as you say, what I have internalized from my childhood. And unpacking that is like a whole deal. I mean, that's the work that I think I'm going to be doing for the next 30 years. Like, what, is that my opinion, or am I hearing something from when I was 7 years old that like just stuck, and, but what, I am excited to consider that. I mean, I don't know if, I guess I'm always trying to find like a silver lining, but I'm like, maybe it's like, everything's changing and we are too.
Yeah. And I think about, I feel this is deeply related. Is that scene, because of course I'm obsessed with the palliative care worker, right?
Yes.
The social worker.
Yeah. On Dying for Sex. Yeah. They're amazing.
Which is that scene when it's after she's broken her femur, after she kicks him in the dick, right?
So
and
good.
then she's like, I want to do that. Like, that's no, and she's like, they are like, nothing is like normal. Like you have to listen to yourself, and like what sex or love or anything is like, you get to feel the energy. I'm mangling this, but it's such a beautiful scene. And it's very similar where it's just like, we all just have to like figure out our own like shit. And then you can like vibe with another person. Right. And that it's not, I don't know, there's something, it's in that spirit. I'm not able to articulate it, but yeah, no, like I think what you're talking about is like, I hadn't made that connection to like what's happening in the world now, but I think it is very relevant to that.
There's like a kind of, I don't know, I'm thinking about humility too, and what's happening in the world. And I was reading a piece by the New York Magazine writer, what's her name? I wrote it down. Angelica Jade Bastian. I don't know if you've read her stuff, but she wrote on her Substack about like kind of being sick of women in their 30s complaining about aging, and also talking about how like a lot of the media that she sees around aging, like, the big movies of last year, like Baby Girl and The Substance and stuff, feel particularly about a story that white women have about aging, which she felt is like intertwined with this experience of being kind of put on a pedestal in our society as a white woman, and then having like the shock of that being suddenly taken away from you. And that really hit me. I don't know if you have thoughts about that, Angela, but I also like, I was thinking about humility there too, of just like, oh, that's like a good, like, that's some weird shit to have been happening, you know,
Right.
when society, like, that wasn't society like seeing me. It was society doing something warped to me, that, you know, that had quote unquote benefits for me, but that like I don't want. And so anything that's about like someone else's perception of me is probably something I want to do away with. And it might feel uncomfortable to then like feel humble, but it's probably good for, you know, everyone.
Well,
and
almost
me.
like becoming invisible to society makes you visible
Right,
to yourself.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there it is.
That's the
that's a
branding.
bar right
That's
there.
in the commercial.
TM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Angela, do you other than the award winning, what are there's like advertising, I can't remember the names of the advertising awards, but I'm sure we will win one with our new advertising campaign for menopause.
yeah.
Other than that, not yet existent culture. Do you have any culture recommendations for our listeners? I mean, I'd imagine just the
I
playoffs.
want to know what
would
books.
would
I
be one.
before you can give general ones too, but I really, you know,
Mhm.
I've been wanting to read about menopause and perimenopause, and I feel like I totally see that it's like a space that is undoubtedly severely under researched, and
Mhm.
but you know, I find myself in these Reddit rabbit holes, and I'm like, what do I read? And then I start reading about books, and then I just get lost in these book reviews where people are like, well, this is, you know, this is all like unscientific, like blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and I'm like,
Yeah, there's a lot of dumping
right, and I get
in some
really
of the menopause book
confused.
reviews.
So like, what do you think is like, you know, I don't know, what is your stack
What's been
of
helpful
like,
for you?
these are the rock solid
Mhm.
ones?
Yeah, so well, Young and Aging, or you know, read some Jung, The Cycles of Life, in particular, Stages of Life. I think is
Okay.
what it is.
That's Jung, not Young.
Yes,
As per this, the topic of this
You
conversation.
can hear it.
Wait, I wanted to share this one quote, which I found, which is in a column, because, okay, this is what I wrote, which is that you could call this a quote midlife crisis, but I find Jung's description much more accurate. An inexorable inner process that enforces the contraction of life. Turning inward and narrowing focus onto myself has given me clarity. So I think it's that same idea of like, as you become invisible, you become more visible to yourself.
Mhm.
Okay, but then in
He
terms
should
of
get
books,
you to write his like, you know, some quotes for the jacket, some blurbs. Where is he?
The books that, what'd you say?
I'm just making a joke about like where's Young really fell off. I don't know. He hasn't done anything lately. He's
Been dead for a while.
Super dead.
I was in Houston for like a work thing in January,
And he
there's
came
a
to you, like,
there's a
over your
Young
hotel
center
bed?
there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so my friend Amber from Designing Motherhood and I
Yeah.
tried to go, but it was closed on the day that we were there. So it was like it was sad for us.
There's a Young
Anyway.
joke in there. If any psychologists
Yeah.
are listening and they want to make the joke about why the Young Society was closed unexpectedly,
This
please
is kind of
DM
like
us.
the New Yorker thing where it's like you write the caption, but it's like,
Yeah, exactly. We'll give
It's
you-
our
yeah.
version of that.
Okay, but I do have
Okay, yeah.
books
Tell
to
us.
recommend, and they're not scientific. Well, so the first book that I read on menopause that I love, which is it's just a really good, the form is really interesting, and her experience is interesting. It's called Flash Count Diary,
Oh, yeah.
and it has the craziest subtitle. It's Menopause and the Vindication of Natural Life. But it's by Darcy Steinke, and it's like very brainy,
Mic
but it's
drop.
also very personal. And so I loved that book. I hate to say it, but you should read all fours by
Done.
We've read
Miranda
that.
July, which I think also ties into the experience of white women specifically.
Yeah.
Like there is a like performance or perception, or I saw neither Baby Girl nor The Substance because I'm just like, I can't. The other thing is that I feel out of step with the world because I cannot, it's really distressing to me that we accept people's faces as faces when
Yeah.
they don't look, nobody looks real to me anymore. Like
Yeah.
no older actress in Hollywood especially white women, looks. I can't believe we're not talking all the time about how Nicole Kidman doesn't look human, right? So there's
even the young ones now, it's very.
I can't look at Nicole
like people
face.
get.
I do bless her, whatever.
We've talked about this actually. Miranda was like, I don't know if I can do it.
I didn't watch Baby Girl though because I can't watch her. Like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Okay, but here I'm going to go out on a limb, which I wasn't thinking. It's just not the first thing that comes to mind. But so I have always felt self-conscious that I don't read enough compared to like my friends who are writers. But
I always think that about you and want you to make sure you feel sufficiently bad about it.
But in the last year, I've been like, oh, reading. I like it again. And I'm generally a nonfiction gal. But so I am just a completely obsessed with Katie Kitamura's books.
Oh, I love her. Did you read the new one?
Yes. Yes, which I think is a great book about middle age and what is the story we tell about ourselves and family? What is family if not like a group delusion, right? Like, but there's a midlife theme happening to me in these books. So the first book I read by her, which I think is my favorite, is Intimacies.
Yes, I love Intimacies.
And it's about this woman who works as a translator in The Hague. And then the other book that I love is A Separation.
That's the one with like the hotel in Greece?
Yes, the Greek islands. Yeah. And then Audition, which is like, I still don't really know what happens in this book, but it's the story of this family and this woman and her like grown son, and like, what is their relationship, and is she insane, and is she is he like a con man, but there's something, especially in Audition, because it's freshness in my mind, there to me is like a real questioning of that kind of like, what have I been living for, and who am I now, and who have I been in the years where I thought I knew who I was and how I defined myself. So they're not like specifically about those things, but to me, they've resonated with me deeply in a way that is in a midlife moment. And those books are so, they're really spare, but they're completely transportive and like psychologically like haunting.
Agreed.
Yeah. And so I would recommend reading those, but.
Those are wonderful recommendations.
That's what I have.
Thank you.
But I'm like obsessed with Kitamura.
Yeah. Did you read Sandwich, the Catherine Newman book about
No, I haven't read it. It's like
sweet.
It's like New England. I can't really.
Yeah, it's very What rude.
I'm like geographically.
If that was a Celtics dig, Angela.
I don't need to do anything. I'm not saying a word about the Celtics. It is so bad for you that I don't need to say a word.
It's so bad. So Angela and I are in a basketball community. We are in deep basketball community with one another, and I do just have to say, again, we're always aging. We're all in the middle of something. Things are always continuing, as your wonderful mentor said. And at this very moment in time, you are 17th in the playoffs game in our basketball betting pool. That's very impressive. I'm like 48th or something. Did you know that you were that high?
No, I didn't. I mean, I've lost the teams that I actually am cheering for.
Yeah.
Or were cheering for. So I think I'm down to 3. So
yeah.
That's cool. That's great.
Yeah, and the Celtics are down 2-0 to the Knicks, and it's very disturbing. I taught my son the term shit the bed last night. I said poop, but in framing like what could happen in the fourth quarter with the Celtics, and I made him hold my hand for the last 2 minutes of the game. And then I was like, this is bad. And he was like, is it? And I was like, well, if sports were the most important thing, it would be bad. Trying to frame it, which,
it's pretty bad, but it's also there's an emerging story here,
Yeah. Yes. We're here for the stories for sure.
But speaking of aging, Steph Curry has his first strained muscle of his career.
I know.
Which I can't believe that. I picked the Warriors, but I was actively rooting for the Rockets the entire time.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, you got to root for the underdogs.
All right. We should continue our basketball talk offline, which we will.
We should and we would and could. It is always a pleasure. Thank you for having these conversations. I also just want to shout out, you did this series at the Seattle Public Library, right? Of conversations about female middle age. And I was like, should I get on a plane? It just looks so cool. I just love, and I love you doing that as like, we can bring these conversations to our communities.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I want to shout out the public library, Seattle Public Library.
Hell yeah.
The person I worked with named Stesha Brandon, who they do a guest curator series every year. And when I was like, I really want to do a series on female middle age. And she was like, cool, do whatever you want.
That's so cool.
And so, yeah, like we had Claire Dieterer and Jane Long talked about care.
Amazing.
And they ended up talking a lot about how they both do like Claire does shitty drawings. She uses that term. And Jane makes ceramics, and how actually part of their self-care is being creative in other ways besides writing, which was really not the direction that I thought their conversation would go. And that was incredible.
And you started drawing and painting in the last couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's been really fun to like do that. And then Molly Weisenberg and Katrina Spade, who basically invented human composting, which is like a thing that we can talk about another time, but is amazing. You can like actually make your last act as a human being on Earth, like be one that's generative as opposed to like adding fossil fuels or taking up space in the Earth. They led a group book discussion of all fours, which was very fun. And then for the last one, I had a Laura Day, who's a wonderful Indigenous poet here, and Putsata Rang, who wrote a great memoir called Ma and Me, and Giles, the Southern, the orca whale expert, came from San Juan Island, and they talked about menopause and perimenopause and sensuality, and it was just so cool. And thanks for mentioning it. And I just want to mention it because there's so many different ways to have this conversation. And like I had this idea of how it would go, but I sort of told everyone you can do whatever you want. And what they came up with was just like,
are these cool. like available to watch? I wonder if
I think a couple, that they're on the Seattle Public Library.
Okay, we'll link to those because I think, I want to tune it. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, they were really fun. And then the crowds who came out, it was just like a dream. Like
totally.
People were like, I've been wanting to have this conversation, right? Like the things that people said were so moving, right? And and I was like, we just need more spaces like this to have these conversations. So it was very cool to do it in a public institution. That felt like we were getting away with something.
Or like, maybe like our society actually wants this. Well, thank you for coming on and letting our conversations go where they go. There's so many different ways to talk to you, Angela, but we love all of them.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Mother of It All. And like my mom always said, what kind of ancestor do you want to be? The Mother of It All is produced by Opus Knox Media with music from It's Electric. If you liked this episode, why not send it to a friend right now? Go on, we'll wait. You can follow us on Substack at themotherofitall.substack.com, where subscribing will get you episodes and bonus posts in your inbox and connect you with the Mother of It All listener community. Plus, become a paid subscriber and get a hot off the presses Mother of It All canvas tote. We're also on Instagram at The Mother of It All, and you can email us anytime with ideas or feedback at motherculturepod@gmail.com.